Hi everyone. This week you're getting a bit different lecture because we just realized that there was a technical problem with the Echo 360 recording from yesterday. So that didn't work out and we didn't and ended up not getting a lecture recording. So now I'm recording this to you myself. So this is essentially the same lecture as we had yesterday at the here on campus. Um, but I'm just re-recording it on my desktop for you. So you would have guessed that the topic for this week is task 3. That's Authentic Learning Group Project, and I was just saying yesterday that I really can't believe that we're already in task 3, and time is really flying. So we've reached the last big task, the last milestone, so to speak, for this unit. And in this lecture, I'm going to walk you through this task and what the requirements are and sort of what you can expect from this task. So you know how these days, always when you're watching a TV show, there's always at the beginning of the show there's this previously on blah 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 whichever show, and those then they show you little clips of what's happened before in during the season in previous episodes, and those little clips from previous episodes sort of give you the clue of what you can expect in the current episode. So I'm going to do that right now. So previously on EDN113, well, not quite this. Anyone else excited about season 6 Game of Thrones? I know I am. Well, maybe not that, but equally exciting. Maybe not. but this is what we've previously had in EDN113. We talked about authentic tasks. That was the lecture that Jen gave in week 3. And if you go back to your lecture recordings and lecture slides, you will be able to access all this information. So we talked about authentic tasks. In week 6, Jenny talked about Australian curriculum and the ICT capability, general capabilities, so how all this that we're doing, how it all links to the curriculum. We've talked about 21st century learning and 21st century skills. That was in week 7. I talked about it. Last week, we talked about collaboration, collaborative learning, and how groups are formed and how to work in a group more successfully, perhaps. In the textbook, you've read about meaningful learning with technology, and in the previous tasks 1 and 2, you've been engaged in creating authentic web resources that can be used for teaching and learning. So we've covered a lot so far, and this is just a snapshot of some of the main themes that we've done so far. And just as in those TV shows, this previously on EDN113 clip here is also giving you sort of an idea of what you can expect in this episode, which is our task 3. So you will need all of these concepts for task 3. In this task, you design an authentic learning project for students. So to be able to do that, you will need to revisit the idea of authentic learning. Like, what is an authentic task? What would an authentic learning project look like? What would not be an authentic learning project? You will be working in teams, and that's where you need some idea of how collaborative learning works and how you can alleviate some of the tensions, problems, obstacles that you might face in group work. You choose an educational topic for this authentic learning project. So it has to align with curriculum. So it can't be just any random project, like a do-it-yourself project or a hobby project or anything like that. It actually has to align with curriculum. So that's where you need an understanding of what that is, and you will probably spend some time reading about the curriculum and seeing what's in there and where your idea might fit. Then I'm not sure if my picture is, right on top of what's on the slide, but it says you choose technologies appropriate for the project. And this means that in the Authentic Learning project, you design a project for students to do where those students will be using technology to work in that project and to create something in that project. So this is not you choosing technologies for yourself. This is you choosing technologies for your target audience for the Authentic Learning project that you are creating. So what sorts of technologies would the students need to complete the project? You are creating a group wiki to share your work. So when you have this Authentic Learning project planned, you share it on a group wiki, and you also create a narrated video presentation about your resource and about the process of making this resource. So you see how all these concepts from this previous slide, how they all come together for task 3. So you will be creating 2 products. That's the Authentic Learning project and the video presentation. And you would want to begin with the Authentic Learning project because the video presentation is it's a sort of making of movie of what your Authentic Learning project is and how it came together, how you worked together to create it. So those are the 2 things, and both of these products will be shared through your wiki page. So now you have an understanding of what you can expect. Now, in getting started with this task, probably the first decisions that you will have to make as a group is to choose a topic for the Authentic Learning task. So you are creating a technology-based learning project for students. And these are 4 questions that you want to be asking yourself when you are choosing the topic. So first of all, what's your teaching area? Teaching area would be English or science or physical education or arts or whatever. That would be the teaching area. Then you need to narrow it down to a specific topic within that teaching area. You need to think about the year level. Like, what year level are you addressing, and how and where does your work sit in the Australian curriculum? And if you remember the group phases from last week's collaborative learning lecture, you'll remember that there were the stages of forming, storming, norming, and performing. And you can expect some storming to take place during this phase where you're making the big decisions on what exactly this project is going to be about. I mentioned you were going to design a wiki page. Some of you might be familiar with this tool from other units. Some of you maybe not. Here are some resources for you where you can find out more about wikis. The pictures on top of the slide are example wikis from students from previous years. These are accessible through the LMS, and you can just click on them and see what students have done earlier. So those are real-life examples for you. We also have a tutorial video as the online lecture for this week, and that's what Jenny is presenting on how to work with wikis. There is more information, as always, on Technology Toolbox for Educators. And next week, there will also be a live online lecture with Jenny again. another opportunity to experience a live online lecture. And in this online lecture, you'll be talking about task 3. So I really recommend for those of you who didn't have the chance to participate in the first one, try and make the time to participate, because it's another great experience of learning with technology. And at this point, I would like to point out that we know there is a wiki task in another unit for our physical education students with Nicole. And just a friendly reminder that even though we're using the same technology, this is not the same task. And you cannot, I'm sure you knew this, but you just be on the safe side, reiterate it here that you can't say the same task for both of us. We're actually talking to each other and we know what's going on in each other's units. So you will have the advantage of being familiar with this technology, but you will use the same technology to do a different task. Okay, now you can you have that part sorted, so you can start thinking about planning the project itself. So here are a few ideas of what you would like to take into consideration. So you're planning a project, and a project is a major task or activity where students are active learners. They are not passive recipients of information, not from you and not from a website and not from an online lecture. They are active learners, and they're actually engaged in creating something meaningful with technology. So that's what the students should be doing. This doesn't mean that the project cannot include and involve sections of information search or instructions and all that. Of course, it can be there, but the main focus should be on students actually using technology to create something. And you might remember from Jan's lecture about authentic tasks that an authentic task would usually result in a meaningful product. And a meaningful product is something that can be shared, something that the students can be proud of. It's not just something that will sit on the teacher's desk and the teacher will mark and give it back to the students, and that's all the audience that ever gets. So think about what kind of a product that could be. Here are some examples. This is not an exhaustive list. It can be a movie, and of course we're not meaning like a full-scale Hollywood production here. It could be like a short clip or an animation, a digital story, a presentation. It could be a website like you've done, a wiki, a digital poster, a game, digital art, some form of art. Like, there's lots of options that you can use here. And in doing this, keep in mind the concepts that we've talked about earlier in this unit, the theoretical concepts, because you put yourself in the shoes of a teacher who is planning a pedagogically high quality activity for your students. So you would need some of that theory there to help inform your planning. So you would be thinking about authentic learning, higher order thinking, student-centered learning, 21st century learning skills, those things that we've talked about during this unit, and see how your project aligns with these ideas. Use these ideas to help you think about the kind of learning that you would like to your project to promote. In addition to planning the project itself, we're also asking you to plan supporting resources and advice for other teachers, because this wiki site that you're creating, it's not for the students, it's for your teacher colleagues, it's for other teachers. So you keep in mind that target audience when you're doing this. So put yourself in the shoes of the visiting teacher. Like, imagine you are landing on somebody's website and there is this great project idea. Like, what sort of information would you need so that it would be easier? Okay, sorry about the break there. It appears that you can only record 15 minutes with the free version of Screencast-O-Matic. So sorry about the inconvenience. But what I was saying, I was talking about the resources, spaces, and advice, and yeah, I was asking you to think about yourself as a visitor to your website or somebody else's website, and with the intention of uh, finding out about this project that you can implement. Like, what sort of information would you require, and what sort of advice could there be so that it would be easier for the uh, for other teachers to implement your project. So I'll talk a bit more about that in a few moments. But also think about a space for sharing the products that the students make. So as I already mentioned, it's supposed to be a product that the students can be proud of, and a product that actually has an audience. So think about that audience, and where could it be that the students are sharing their work? Maybe it could be a website, or it could be something where people are physically present, a display, an arts exhibition, a fair. It could be that the parents are invited in, and there is some sort of an event where the students get to share their work, a movie night, whatever. But think about a realistic and authentic space for sharing these products, so that they are not just something that the teacher will see, but an authentic audience will actually have the chance to look at them. And provide some advice to the teachers on how they could implement and manage the project. Like, how could they prepare? How long would it take to run this project? How many lessons do they need to reserve for it? What resources would they need? Is there something that they need to learn to use, like a technology that they need to learn to use before they start the project? Any props or things that they need to bring to the classroom for the students, or anything like that. So put all of that on your wiki site. Now, this slide sort of summarizes what the project is and is not about. And let me just move this up here so that you can actually see what's on the slide. So the project would be extending over several lessons instead of just being a single lesson or homework that you give to the students. So it can't be a one lesson thing. It would have to be something that extends over several lessons. And it would be an authentic task, which means that it's complex, it's open-ended, and it does require some problem solving and creativity from the student side, rather than offering them decontextualized activities like worksheets, facts, and gap fill exercises, or questions about a text or a lesson or something like that. So think about an open-ended task where the teacher is a facilitator of learning rather than giving step-by-step instructions and micromanaging the project for the students. There would have to be room for the students to make their own decisions, come up with their own solutions. And this is sometimes hard for teachers to allow to happen, because teachers tend to love micromanaging, and they feel that they need to be in control, and that the students need to be managed. We talk about classroom management and all that stuff. I'm not saying it doesn't have any value, but it shouldn't get in the way of implementing an authentic learning learning experience. Because remember, think back to the theories we've talked about, to the higher order thinking skills of creation, creating, evaluating, analyzing, and the 21st century skills and the general capabilities in the curriculum. They were things like problem solving, decision making, creative thinking. Students are not going to learn any decision making if all of their decisions are always made for them. So you do need to create some space for students to develop those skills. And in these projects, the technology should be in the hands of the students rather than in the hands of the teacher. And the students should use technology to create something rather than use a computer to access some information through the learning management system or in the internet. I'm not saying that it can't involve information search. It can, but that shouldn't be the main activity. Content delivery should not be the main activity in this project. And as I said, the technology should be in the hands of the students rather than teacher using technology to deliver content through a PowerPoint presentation or through a video like I'm doing now. So that's not what we're expecting here. And finally, students will create an authentic product that will be shared with an authentic audience rather than students just writing an assignment for the teacher to mark. So, what should go in the wiki site? As I already mentioned, looks like I already talked about all of these things. The same thing happened yesterday. I'm giving the same lecture for the second time and I'm doing the same thing again. So I already talked about these things. But the point that I want to make with this slide is that that you would want to create the wiki site for other teachers and maybe show it to someone before submitting and see if that someone thinks that you have enough information there. The resources, links, ideas and advice that you have there are helpful or not, or if there's something that they think is missing. So what could these resources be? It could be online resources that you find that support your project, either content-wise or maybe it could be about the technologies that you use, links to ideas, advice, maybe examples of previous implementations if applicable, all those sorts of things that could be helpful for other teachers. The video presentation, that's the second product that you create. And as I said, this is what you would do after creating the first one. Here are some guidelines for the presentation. So it shouldn't exceed 4 minutes. And it's actually quite important that it doesn't exceed 4 minutes because first of all, you want to keep it short and sharp so that it's user-friendly and any teachers visiting your resource could just watch this 4-minute presentation and immediately get an idea of what the project is about, how it's been created, what the thinking behind it is, and so on and so forth. Secondly, we are going to watch these in the classroom and also share them online in the LMS. So just for allowing for other students to watch it, you don't want to make it too long because if all of them were like 15 minutes, we wouldn't have time to see very many. So 4 minutes, and it's about your resource and also about the process of making it, how you made it as a group. It can be done with different technologies. It could be something as simple as a PowerPoint presentation, narrated slideshow, or Keynote. Keynote is like the PowerPoint equivalent for Mac, so it could be that. Or you could use Prezi, Screencast-O-Matic. That's what I'm using now. This presentation is made with Screencast-O-Matic. It's also a free tool, but as we just found out, you can't do more than 15 minutes at one go. Or you could do a small iMovie or Movie Maker presentation, or a recording with your computer, or it could be a combination of different technologies. The important thing is that it's narrated and it's not just slides. So just a PowerPoint presentation without narration will not qualify as your video presentation. Of course, you could also take a video camera and record yourselves and do it that way. So you can do it in a different ways. It has to be linked on your wiki. And as I said, we'll share them in workshops in week 14 and have a little movie moment. And for external students, these presentations will be available online, so you'll also have the chance to watch other people's work. Finally, how to get started. These are resources that you'll find in the LMS. Now that we're doing task 3, everything that you need will be in the section task 3, as I'm sure you're already finding out how the logic works in our LMS. So the red arrows here point to resources that are especially helpful. As always, there's instructions and guidelines in the learning guide, task 3 details. Task 3 examples would be what I already showed, the links to wikis from previous years. And then there is the last one. It's actually, we moved it. It's no longer in activities. It's now in resources. So it's task 3 project ideas. It's a list of teaching areas and topics that you might like to consider for your project if you don't have already have an idea of what you would like to do. So this is task 3, and but there will be more information as you. Sorry, lost my train of thought there. So there is all these resources in the LMS, and don't forget to look at the digital, the online presentation for this week. And also, I'd like to remind you of the opportunity to attend the live lecture next week. So, I hope this makes sense and it helps you get started with task 3. And I hope to have a proper Echo 360 recording for you again next week. Thank you.